Hi, how are you? I'm Bill Hamilton, and I wanted to brief you on the AAHKS Fellowship Recognition Initiative for those of you who missed our gathering at the AAHKS Annual Meeting. So why is AAHKS pursuing this? Well, AAHKS's core values include education and lifelong learning, and I think we'd agree that our adult reconstruction fellowships are a pillar for learning for our future surgeons. We really want to ensure that all fellowship programs support these core AAHKS values, have the highest quality education and training experience, and produce technically skilled, highly qualified hip and knee surgeons. AAHKS has already one of the largest subspecialties. You can see on this slide, which is actually even a year outdated, that the hip and knee programs had close to the most number of positions and the most number of fellowship programs when compared to all the other different subspecialties. And most of these already have some form of accreditation. Sports and hand have accreditation through the ACGME and the ABOS, whereas trauma, shoulder and elbow, and pediatrics have society-led accreditations, and we're going to follow that model. So we're one of the few that have currently no form of oversight or accreditation for our fellowship programs. So the goals of this program is to develop a common set of standards, create a formal process for recognizing adherence to such standards, and hopefully this will lead to improvements to the structure of fellowship training for all of fellowships that are out there. The AAHKS Fellowship Committee will oversee this process. It's going to help to make sure that programs are structured with solid educational platforms, and we're going to do our very best to minimize the administrative burdens for all the fellowships that are out there. Ultimately, it will be required to have some form of recognition or accreditation if you want to participate in the adult reconstruction match run through the SF match, as well as apply for AAHKS fellowship grants. There's going to be two pathways to pursue this. One, there's about 20% of current adult reconstruction fellowships that are ACGM accredited, and then there'll be the second pathway that we call AAHKS recognition. If you are one of the fellowships that's already accredited by ACGME, you will be basically considered to fully meet the standards for AAHKS recognition. You will not need to formally apply for AAHKS recognition. However, we will want you to submit some simple information so that we can have that information online for our applicants, such as the copy of the ACGME program application, which is much more robust than what we'll be asking. Complete the AAHKS program agreement, submit your completed fellows case logs. There will be a case log that I'll talk about briefly, and pay a nominal fee. The AAHKS recognition pathway for most of you programs that are not ACGME accredited, let me review some of the structure of the pathway that we're discussing. First, this is a 12-month program, so that if you're a 6-month or 3-month fellowship, you can't be fully AAHKS recognized. We're going to allow for a maximum time away for vacation, sick time, FMLA, or disability. Each program will have to attest to obvious things that many of you are already achieving, such as providing sound didactic and clinical education, balancing patient safety and fellow well-being. We really want the fellowships to avoid excessive reliance on fellows to fulfill service obligations. So you should not be starting a fellowship simply to have someone come do your work and dictate your op reports. You should monitor the relationship between residencies and fellowships to preserve the educational experience of both. Of course, provide environments free of bias of gender, race, religion, and emphasize the equality of knowledge, skills, clinical judgment, and attitudes essential to the practice of the subspecialty. Taking on an adult reconstruction fellowship is a huge responsibility, and I think you need to consider all of these things before going down that pathway. With regards to faculty requirements, you have to have a fellowship director who will need to be an AAHKS member. We expect a minimum 1-to-1 ratio of faculty to fellows, all of whom should be either board eligible or certified by the Royal College of Surgeons for our Canadian colleagues that participate. There should be an administrative director that's appointed to handle some of these administrative tasks. We'll set minimum case volumes that I'm sure many of you will far exceed, but minimum 250 primary hips and or knees, minimum 25 revision hips and or knees. There will also be case logs that AAHKS will provide. We already have created an AAHKS case log internally. This will be provided to your fellows so that they can log their cases. For those ACGME fellows who already are logging their cases, you will not be required to do this twice, but we will ask that you submit your ACGME case logs. Once again, this will be ideal for providing information for applicants so that when you're applying for a fellowship, you'll be able to get as much information possible on the various fellowships you're applying to. We expect that as part of your fellowship, you'll have a curriculum that would include some combination of didactic weekly teaching conferences, case conferences such as indications, diagnosis, and management. These are always very popular with fellows, M&N conferences, journal clubs, and we expect that your fellows will participate in at least one of the major national meetings per year. We expect there to be some research component. We know that there's a large difference between some of the major academic institutions and some of the smaller one-person rural fellowships. We recognize that not everyone has access to bench-type research or large database. However, we've allowed for several different types of opportunities that any fellowship, I think, could perform, such as original research, local quality improvement projects, writing review articles, case studies, systematic reviews you can do from anywhere. And the goal would be that the fellow submit a publication quality abstract or manuscript towards the end of the completion of fellowship. We believe that going through this research project is a critical component to developing our future surgeons. We believe there should be some form of evaluation such that the faculty evaluate the fellows minimum quarterly, and the fellows evaluate the faculty annually. We can provide evaluation forms for fellowships that don't already have them. Those evaluations should be maintained on site so that if they need to be produced for the committee, they can be produced. And we very well may contact fellows at the completion of the fellowship to perform an exit evaluation to gain more information and granularity about the experience at each fellowship. There will be a graduation of some sort, and that will basically, if you complete your case logs and submit those, get verification from the program director, you will have graduated from one of these programs, and we hope to recognize the graduates at our AAHKS annual meeting. You'll be required to provide annual updates, and then every 5 years or so be expected to reapply fully for recognition. Here's the timeline for the next application cycle. On January 15th, we hope to have the application distributed and available to fellowship programs with an application deadline of April 1st. Over that time and then up until July 1st, the AAHKS Fellowship Committee will review these applications. We'll then have a period of remediation such that if there's missing information, programs can correct those and remediate those issues. And then we'll have notifications sent to the programs on the status of their application towards the beginning of August. By August 31st, the fellowship match application will be posted on the San Francisco Match website. And at that time, fellowship recognition status will be detailed for each program that's applied. And as you know, the November 1st is the deadline for fellow application submission to the SF match. Fellows that match on that particular cycle will be matching into fellow recognized programs. We've proposed a potential carrot for programs to hopefully reapply in a timely fashion. We also plan to do this to help the committee such that they'll be reviewing a certain number of applications each year as opposed to reviewing all applications 5 years from now. So if you're one of the early applicants and one of the first 20% that apply, you'll be allowed to reapply in a full 7 years from the time of first application, second 20% 6 years, and so on, such that if you're some of the last to reapply, you'll be expected to reapply earlier than others. So the sooner you apply for this, the longer your first reapplication interview. So that will be your motivation to apply early. That will help the AAHKS committee to get things off the ground as soon as these applications start rolling in. There's a fee structure will be expected. Currently, programs are expected to pay $500 for the SF match. There may be some increase that's yet to be determined. AAHKS is committed to making this affordable for all fellowships. This is not an income generating initiative. There's some possibility that we'll be able to use some industry grant funds to help offset the costs of the fellowship process. In the future, we hope to align this fellowship recognition application, the match application, as well as any applications for grant money to hopefully reduce the administrative burden to your programs. There's a potential that AAHKS could assume more control of distributing grant money. And the real hope here is that we'll be providing more granular data to applicants, because when applicants apply now for fellowship programs, there's very little data available other than what we provide to them. So hopefully this will provide applicants with a lot more granularity so they can help to distinguish one program from another. So I thank you very much. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me by email, cell phone, or contact the AAHKS administrative office, who can help to answer any of your questions. Thank you very much.